The envelope felt heavy in my hands, not from the weight of the paper, but from the silence it carried. It had been 3 days since my daughter, Sarah, had last spoken to me, and this letter, slipped under my door, felt like a final verdict. I remember standing in my own hallway, the morning light catching dust motes in the air, thinking how strange it was that a single piece of paper could erase a lifetime of sounds of laughter in the kitchen, of whispered secrets on the stairs, of a voice simply saying, "I love you, Mom." This was the moment I knew the money hadn't just changed her, it had dismantled us. Our life before the fortune was built on simple, sturdy things. I was a widow, and after Michael passed, it was just Sarah and me against the world. We lived in the same cozy, slightly cluttered house she'd grown up in. Money was often tight, a constant, low-grade worry that hummed in the background of our lives. I worked as a paralegal, and I took pride in stretching my salary to cover dance lessons, school trips, and later, a portion of her college tuition. We were a team. She'd see me worrying over bills and say, "Don't worry, Mom. When I'm a big-shot designer, I'm going to buy you a house by the sea." I'd smile and tell her the only house I needed was the one she was in. And she'd become a success. A talented graphic designer, she built a good life for herself in the city, while I stayed in our hometown. Our relationship evolved into a warm, adult friendship. We spoke every Sunday, her voice a familiar anchor in my week. She'd complain about clients, I'd talk about my garden, and we'd plan our next visit. There was a comfortable rhythm to it all, a melody I knew by heart. The fault line I see now was never about Sarah being a bad person. It was about a quiet, unspoken seed of resentment that had been planted during those lean years. She had watched her friends from wealthier families get help with down payments, inheritances, trust funds. She never said it, but I could feel it, a subtle shame about our modest means, a yearning for a life that felt easier, shinier. I had raised her to be ambitious, and I was so proud of the woman she'd become. I just never realized that her ambition might one day have no room left for me. The fortune came from my Aunt Clara, a reclusive, kind-hearted woman I'd cared for in her final years. Her passing was a sadness, but not a surprise. The surprise was the extent of her wealth, quietly accumulated over a lifetime of shrewd investments. Her will was simple and staggering. The entire estate, a sum of $33 million, was left to Sarah. Not a trust, not a portion to me, her primary caretaker. Everything, directly to my daughter. The lawyer explained it was Clara's wish to set the next generation on a firm foundation. I felt a flicker of something, not jealousy, but a strange unease. A foundation for what? The first week was a blur of excitement. Sarah was ecstatic, breathless. "Mom, this changes everything," she'd gush over the phone. For both of us. We spent hours dreaming together. She talked about paying off my mortgage, about setting up a college fund for her future children, about taking a trip around the world, just the two of us. The warmth of those conversations felt like an extension of our old life, just brighter, gilded in possibility. Then, the tone began to shift. The calls became shorter. Her dreams started to sound more singular. "I'm looking at properties in the Alps," she'd say. My financial advisor thinks." The "we" had quietly vanished. The real turning point, the sharp cut that severed our old life from the new, came during a visit to my house. She arrived in a new, sleek car that cost more than my entire home. She was dressed in clothes I didn't recognize, elegant and severe. We were in the kitchen, and I was making tea the same way I always had. I asked her, gently, about setting up a meeting with her financial advisor, so we could discuss the plan for paying off the house. She didn't look at me. She stirred her tea, the spoon clinking softly against the china. "Actually, Mom," she said, her voice calm and horribly final. "I've been thinking. This house, it's full of memories, but it's a drain. It's old. The upkeep. I think it's time you moved into something more manageable. A nice senior community." The air left the room. I stared at her, waiting for the punchline, for the smile that would break and tell me she was joking. It never came. "A senior community?" I finally managed. "Sarah, this is my home." "It's a sentiment," she corrected, meeting my eyes at last. Her gaze was steady, devoid of its usual warmth. And sentiment is a luxury we can't afford to base financial decisions on. I'm not giving you the money to stay here. It's not a sound investment. The word investment landed like a slap. She had drawn a line, and I was on the wrong side of it. The silence that followed was a living presence in the house. Our Sunday calls stopped. I'd call her, and it would go to voicemail. My texts would be met with one-word replies hours later. Busy. In a meeting. Traveling. I was being ghosted by my own child. I felt like I was grieving a death, but there was no body, no closure, just the haunting image of a daughter who looked like mine but spoke in the cold language of accountants. The pressure escalated quietly, insidiously. A month after her visit, I received a formal letter from a property management company. It was an assessment of my home, detailing its deferred maintenance and declining market value. Sarah had sent them. I sat at my kitchen table, the same table where I'd helped her with homework, where we'd shared thousands of meals, and I traced the embossed logo on the letterhead with a trembling finger. This wasn't a suggestion anymore, it was a campaign. Then came the family. My brother, Mark, called. "Sarah tells me you're being stubborn about the house," he said, his tone jovial but with an edge. "Come on, sis. Don't stand in the girl's way. She's trying to manage her assets. You should be proud." She had spun a narrative for the family, painting me as the emotionally fragile, impractical mother, unable to understand the complexities of great wealth. I was being cornered not just financially, but socially, my reputation slowly being dismantled. The loneliness was the heaviest burden. The house, once a place of warmth, felt vast and empty. I'd find myself making too much food out of a habit built for two. I'd hear the floorboards creak and my heart would leap, thinking it was her, before the silence rushed back in. I started waking up at 3 a.m., my mind racing, playing and replaying our last conversation, searching for a clue I had missed, a word I could have said differently. The financial strain of maintaining the house on my single income became a tangible worry, a tightness in my chest every time I paid a bill. I felt the walls, both literal and figurative, closing in. The final push came during a brief, unexpected phone call. She was in Geneva, her voice crisp with the efficiency of a different time zone. "Mom, I found a lovely assisted living facility near Aunt Carol. It has great reviews. I've put down a deposit. The move-in date is in 6 weeks." She said it all in a single breath, as if she were ordering office supplies. There was no ask, no discussion. It was a decree. I held the phone, listening to the hollow hum of the international line, and I knew I had to make a choice. I could be quietly, politely erased, or I could find a way to stand my ground. Desperation led me to Aunt Clara's old lawyer, Mr. Davison. I wasn't sure what I hoped to find, some loophole, some forgotten codicil, anything. I felt a pang of shame, as if I were chasing the money myself, but I had to understand. Mr. Davison, an elderly man with kind eyes, listened to my story, his expression growing graver by the minute. "Eleanor," he said softly when I finished, my voice shaking. "The will was ironclad. The money is Sarah's, without restriction." My heart sank. "However," he continued, leaning forward, "Aunt Clara was a meticulous woman. She left a separate, private letter for you. She asked me to hold it, to be given to you only if you asked for it directly." He handed me a sealed envelope, my name written in Clara's elegant, old-fashioned script. My hands trembled as I opened it. The letter was short. "Asterisk, if you are reading this, then my greatest fear has likely come to pass. I left my fortune to Sarah not to slight you, but to test her. I saw in her a hunger for a world I never trusted. I loved her, but I feared that wealth would amplify her pride, not her heart. I gave her the power to choose kindness. I am so sorry if she has chosen otherwise. You, my dear, were always the truly rich one. You have a strength she cannot yet comprehend. Use it, asterisk. Asterisk with all my love. Clara, asterisk." I sat there, the paper crinkling in my tight grip. It wasn't about the money. It never had been. It was a test. A cruel, brilliant, and devastating test. And Sarah had failed. The power balance didn't just shift, it shattered and reformed. The victim was gone. In her place was a woman with a purpose. I didn't scream. I didn't call Sarah to rage. I felt a profound, chilling calm. Clara was right. I had a strength born of a lifetime of resilience, of making a way out of no way. That was an inheritance Sarah could never touch. My plan wasn't about revenge. It was about reclamation. Reclaiming my home, my dignity, my narrative. I went back to Mr. Davison, not as a desperate aunt, but as a client. I still owned my house, free and clear. I had my career, my skills. I asked him to connect me with a trustworthy financial advisor who could help me restructure my finances to make my position impregnable. I used my paralegal knowledge to formally document every interaction, the property assessment, the details of the assisted living facility deposit. I created a paper trail. Next, I reached out to my family, but on my terms. I had quiet, one-on-one conversations with my brother, my cousins. I didn't attack Sarah. I simply told my truth, calmly and factually. Sarah came into her inheritance, I'd say. And she has decided on a different path for herself. I respect that. But this is my home, and I will be staying here. I presented not as a victim, but as a woman in control of her own life. The family narrative began to slowly, quietly turn. I invested in my home, not to increase its value for sale, but to fortify it for myself. I had the roof repaired. I updated the wiring. Each improvement was a silent declaration. I am not leaving. I lived my life. I tended my garden. I went to work. I made peace with the silence in the house until it no longer felt like loneliness, but like peace. The confrontation, when it came, was not from me. Sarah showed up at my door 2 months later. The sleek car was still there, but she looked different. Thinner, strained. The elegant clothes seemed to hang on her. The aura of invincible wealth was gone, replaced by a frantic energy. "Mom, we need to talk," she said, brushing past me into the living room. "Of course, Sarah. Would you like some tea?" I asked, my voice even. My calmness seemed to agitate her. "No, I don't want tea," she snapped, pacing. "It's about the money. There were taxes, fees, investments it's complicated. My financial manager, I need liquidity. I need to access the capital in this house." I simply watched her. "This house is not your capital, Sarah. It is my home." She stopped pacing and looked at me, and for the first time, I saw genuine panic in her eyes. "You don't understand. I'm in trouble. There are people, obligations. I could lose everything." "It sounds like you already have," I said softly. The words hung in the air. Her face crumpled. The sophisticated, cold woman vanished, and for a fleeting second, I saw my little girl, scared and in over her head. She sank onto the sofa, her head in her hands. "I messed up, Mom. I messed everything up. I was so stupid. I thought it was a game, and now I have nothing. I have no one." She was begging for my help, just as the original title promised, but it wasn't a moment of victory for me. It was a moment of profound sadness. I did not offer her money. I did not let her move back in. The boundaries, once established, had to remain. But I did not abandon her. I poured her a cup of tea and I sat with her. I listened as she sobbed out a story of bad advice, predatory friends, and the terrifying speed at which a fortune can evaporate when it's built on sand. I was her mother in that moment, not her banker, not her savior. I helped her find a reputable debt counselor. I drove her to the first appointment. It was the small act of grace I could offer, not a bailout, but a hand back toward reality, toward responsibility. Our relationship today is a quiet, careful thing. It is a long way from the easy warmth we once had. The trust is gone, and some fractures never fully heal. She is rebuilding her life from the ground up, this time with her own 2 hands, and I think, finally, she is beginning to understand the true value of things. The fortune didn't destroy our family. It revealed a weakness that was already there. Money doesn't change people, it simply removes the filters, allowing their true character to flow, unchecked and pure. If this real-life story resonated with you, please like the video and subscribe for more calm reflections on family, love, and the challenges.